um, Academics had a live, and he was basically speaking on. He made a comment about the older generation of rappers, and he's like, the older generation are dusty. They always looking broke.
Mm.
Um, and I think to his point, he kind of went back and kind of added to it and was saying, in his context, I was talking about how a lot of these older rappers, they weren't smart when it came to business. You know what I'm saying? When it came to contracts or it came to,
Hmm.
you know, being on a label or the kind of deals they were making. And
Mm.
a lot of them are broke now. And he's saying they hating on the younger generation, because the younger generation is getting fly and getting money. And so LL Cool J responded and was like, "Hold on, slow down. You're going
Yeah.
too crazy right now."
I was say, what's CHH DJ's academics?
Oh man.
Nah, yeah, I heard about that. LL went off, huh?
Yeah, he
He did it
said
in a very professional manner, I would
he
say,
Yeah,
did.
man.
yeah, he had a lot to say. Now he didn't like he
He
ain't pull a
snapped.
Marcus Rogers.
Oh,
Nah,
yeah,
he was professional about it. Like he didn't even want to mention his name.
yeah,
Mm.
So
He's
Yeah, he
like
was
that
really
sure,
cool
DJ.
about it.
yeah.
yeah,
But that's bred out of disrespect though. People don't want to use his name because they don't want to give him that
you give
respect.
him yeah.
You know, that's what with academics they always do with him. They want to remove the title from his name as a DJ. Like the man DJ'd in the past, he's a DJ. Let's stop it.
Hmm.
Mm.
And maybe I feel passionate because I get the same thing.
I was about to
People are like,
ask you
yo,
about that.
you ain't on. Yo,
Did that hit
I've been
home?
on
Did that hit
turntables,
home?
man.
Right. I didn't know he
Yo,
was a
Google
DJ,
me.
huh?
Google it.
Spice One snapped on him too, though. I don't know if y'all remember Spice One, but
Yeah, I saw
Spice
that.
One
Uh,
snapped. Now
Oh
he ain't
yeah,
nowhere
yeah,
near like the little Cool J, bro. He snapped.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he
A
say, "What
Spice
have
One
you
was talking
done?"
about putting
Yeah,
paws on them and all that.
Oh,
yeah. He said,
word?
"What have you done as a DJ? Are you even a DJ? Do you have any hit albums out? Like, what makes you somebody adequate enough to speak on the topic?" So he
Mm.
must not be acquainted with DJ academics outside of the podcast, or you know what I mean. But yeah, he was
Hmm.
coming at him hard
I seen Russell Simmons chimed in too.
Did he?
on his
Yeah.
yoga mat.
Yeah,
On his
With
yoga
his
yeah.
With no
man.
legs,
shoes
with his,
on. Bro, when you address
Indian
somebody with no
style.
shoes on, bro, that's different, bro.
with your legs crossed.
Well,
Oh, bro, you
with the
crowd with
incense
no shoes.
blowing in the back.
Yeah, that's different. That's different, bro.
Wow.
It's an interesting convo because I think right, us, right, like we just talked about like secular music, right, but some of us, we've grown up with some of the older generation of rappers, right, and they kind of dear to us, or we have some kind of correlation, right.
Hmm.
And then we're kind of a little more judgmental towards the younger kids, right, the younger generation, what they're doing now, what and how their music is. And um so what are y'all thoughts on that, like the disconnect between the older generation, even in Christian hip hop, right? Like, what do y'all feel about that disconnect? Is there a disconnect because the younger generation doesn't respect the older generation? They feel like y'all washed up, y'all old. Or is it from the older generation being like, oh, these young kids aren't lyrical enough, or they're not,
You think that's the
or they
case though?
or
I
they
see. I see mad respect, bro. Like you seen all the features that Selah did with the next generation. You know what I mean? You see what LNF is doing too. Like a lot of people are connecting. You can't connect with everybody because everybody ain't on the same page. But you connect with those that are air likes.
mm,
okay.
Yeah, well, I'm from the golden era of hip hop, fam, and I can listen to a lot of the stuff that's going on in CHH now and still respect it because that's their era. You got to understand the people they grew up listening to, and you have to also look back at our era and see how the era that maybe came before that maybe not had respected our transition. Each era is going to be different, and I don't think it makes it any less good of music. It's just knowing your lane. So I can respect the different styles that's coming out now and still hold true to mine. So I feel like
Yeah.
there is a disconnect. We do know it's one, but at the end of the day, I feel like that can be reconciled if everybody just respect their lane. You know what I mean, and what they're doing and what they prefer to do. It's all preference, man.
Mm.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the context about where Act was coming from was in the sense of the older generation. Y'all got jerked in your contracts, but you didn't pass on the information. to the younger generation. And I think even as it when you talk about CHH, it's the same thing. Um, you got a lot of younger folks who are upset that the older generation didn't leave behind what I would think is like a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think CHH, if you go back to like 2010, I'm sorry, but I felt like everybody kind of moved different. People were a lot more, at least from the outside looking in, there were a lot more business savvy. It seemed like. Now, of course, I know that there was bad business going on and stuff like that, but to me, everything just seemed like the foundation, the genre itself was handled a little bit more professionally. Um, Down to from people being posted on Rapzilla or whatever it was, and maybe that's just me from the standpoint of being a fan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think like right now we just like anybody and everybody can get DistroKid, upload, and it's a rap.
Right.
Like you're an artist. But there's no foundation where people even understand, their royalties and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think that
Right.
that's where some of the animosity comes from is where you got the younger generation that feels like, yo, y'all didn't leave us nothing. You didn't leave us no
Mm.
foundation to build off of. Now we basically building from the ground up, and it's a mess. So I think that's
Hmm.
part of it.
Foster's hip hop. Wow, this is deep. He says hip hop is a fatherless culture. Respecting what came before you is at a deficit in black culture. Mm.
That's real.
Mm.
Jeez.
There was we're in a CHH Christian chat, and I don't know if y'all know Brother Hurt from the West Coast. He made a comment that I kind of I respect it. You know what I'm saying? And he said, Act can say what he wants, but this younger generation is going to get older as well, and we're going to see how they pan out in the long run, right? We're going to see how their money's going to be. We're going to see who's going to be broke and who's not. And let's be real, in the age of social media, it seems like a lot more rappers are getting killed. So you might have dusty old rappers, but they alive, right? Compared to these young boys that are getting the money, getting to the bag,
Right.
but they dying left and right. Almost every week, it seems like a new rapper's dying, right? And I thought that was profound, and there was a lot of wisdom there, you know, on the other spectrum, on the other side of things.
Mm-hmm.
True. Something to think about.
Facts.
For
So,
sure.
what do you guys think? What do you think? How can if there is a gap between the new generation and the older generation, what do you guys think that the culture needs? What do you guys think that we can do, being that we are part of the older generation?
Well, I say this, man. One thing that's already kind of been done already, and it's more in the secular, but I think it can spill over into what we're doing with CHH is when Versus came out. A lot of the younger generation is getting introduced to bars again, and I think they're starting to appreciate it more, like because you got these old artists being reintroduced to a larger audience that children of this generation may never heard of a Bun B or may never heard of a Jada Kiss or Styles P,
Hmm.
but
Right.
because of Versus, that kind of reintroduced a lot of these artists from our era to these new generation. And I work with kids. I work at a shelter for runaway youth, and when I expose them to this type of music, and it's CHH now, of course, but when I expose them to more
Right.
lyrical CHH, they love it. A lot of
Mm.
times it's just they haven't been exposed to it enough.
Hmm.
So it's like at the end of the day, a lot of it's just re-exposing them or exposing them for the first time to this type of music. And a lot of them are rock with it, bro. I think we assume that they don't want to hear bars. We assume that they don't like lyrical music, but I've seen from actually working in the field that that's not always true. So I think a lot of the
Yeah.
work is already starting, bro, by just reintroducing them to that style of music, and I think verses help with that greatly, bro.
Mm.
For sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, I
sure.
think we seeing a lot of that now with the success of Griselda, and then we see that in CHH too. Like we've seen a lot of artists that are bar heavy, seeing a lot more success now, doing a lot more projects together, a lot more collaborations. You know, so I think we're in a good space, man. I think it's growing, and it's something for everybody.
Yes,
For
sir.
You
sure.
know, it's not just the wavy stuff. You know what I mean?
For
Yeah,
sure.
bars is back, fam. Definitely.
Yeah,
Let's
we definitely
go.
we got mentors like you got who are out there. I think that it's not not politicized, but it's not spread out there widely. But you got a lot of people out there who are from the earlier generations, and they're mentoring younger people. They're picking out artists who they can pour into, right? Like I'm not connected directly, but a double ATL, like he's out there, pouring into dudes
Hmm.
out there in ATL, man. Like
Hmm.
a lot of them young dudes, you'll see an interview and they mention him as somebody who pulled him under the wing and was like, "Yo, this is how you move" and all of that. And I think we need more of that. You know what I mean? So kind of like what I kind of do with my music, when I see if there's a need there, that's when I'll be like, all right, cool, let's work on your royalties. Let's make sure that you got everything, business wise, in order. Shout out to MC Nice. Nice just put me on this weekend. You know what I mean? Like he's looking out for me for an upcoming event, and he's another one that's not celebrated. You know what I mean? And it's not spoken about. But there's people in the background who are mentoring and helping younger artists kind of like navigate, but it just doesn't. I don't think they get celebrated enough. Where what I mean, people don't get their flowers, so you don't even know that it's happening in the background.
Right.
Yeah,
For sure.
dope is dope. That's what's up, yo. Gotta be more of that, yo. We need to.
Yeah.
Any other comments on the academics?
No. Nah.
All right,
El said enough, yo.
Darren, you good there, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I do want to make a comment on the on bridging the gap just with the older generation and the younger generation. I think that with anything, the standard has died when it comes to music because when I was coming up, if you couldn't rap, you didn't rap. Um,
Yeah.
and so
Oh no, how do you
uh,
explain E40?
yeah,
Oh,
not to knock the younger generation, but I do think it's imperative that we have mentors, that we
Hmm.
have those because you learn from exposure. And a lot of people they're really ill-equipped because they haven't been exposed to a different caliber of music. They don't know the art. Just like freestyling is obsolete now. The things that the fundamentals, we don't even discuss the fundamentals. It's like an extinct thing now when it comes to the culture. So I really think that when we have the older generation have time to have those dialogues with the younger generation, it's a beautiful thing. And another thing that I realized that in this modern day culture is that sometimes the younger generation is not always receptive because
Yeah, that
we
part
have
too.
this idea that we already know it. We're getting to the bag. We don't need instructions. But I just want to say that money is no good without knowledge, without the plan. So
sir.
that's my 2 cents.
Come
You know,
on.
Darren,
Amen,
you just hit
amen.
on a strong point, bro.
Yeah, we got
Because
Yeah.
one thing I noticed is that, and I tell the kids that I work with, I say, if you've been fed fast food your whole life, you'll start to think that's a normative and you'll start to think that's quality food. And now when somebody like your mom or dad prepares an actual home cooked meal, you look at them like it's an alien meal because you've conditioned your taste buds to like junk. And
Hmm.
because that's all you eat, you think that's good food. So musically, that also translates musically. If all they hearing is Kodak Black and all these other cats, and I'm not gonna name all of them, but they're gonna start to think that's the standard. And you made a point
Yeah.
on that, bro. So it's like when you get exposed to a home cooked meal, it's a little different. You feel me? When all you've been
Right.
used to is fast food. So
and we always got to be mindful of the pioneers that sacrificed, right? Because even in CHH, right, like the some of the cross movements and all these different artists, right? They weren't accepted by every church. You know what I'm saying? They were still calling their music demonic, and
Right.
so they had to sacrifice. They had to go through these struggles and through everything to be able to open doors for other artists that are out right now, and even in the secular world, right? Like, in the beginning, hip hop wasn't the biggest thing in the world, like how it is now. It's one of the most streamed music. Every time you watch a commercial or you play a video game, hip hop is in it. Hip hop pretty much runs and dominates
Everything.
everything. Yeah. So, but at first, like you're the pioneer, right? So you gotta, you're gonna go through the sacrifices. They might not have made money. They might have just had to put the legwork, and you always gotta respect that and honor that, in my opinion. So,
Hmm.
on the vice versa, if you look at what the fruit of hip hop, then we can we can further elaborate on that. You know what I'm saying? As far as the older generation will have to eventually say, well, the newer generation is this way because we did promote violence, and we did promote, we were promoting getting high. Now these kids are doing more than just smoking weed. They're popping pills, or they doing this, or they doing that. So I mean, it was wicked even through its transition. Don't get it wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're saying it's a result?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think anything that's not founded on Christ is gonna collapse. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
For real.